Welcome to Storyteller Sessions, presented by theLionhearted. We are here with Brandon Boers, a good friend of mine, also actively a big supporter, helper, player of the Lionhearted too. But yeah, we're here with him for our Storyteller session. You did 2 songs with us. How you doing, Brandon?
Pretty good.
Very good, very good. So yeah, what were the 2 songs that you did with us for your session?
Blush and Limerence.
Blush and Limerence. And this is the first official Storyteller session, so we're very excited. So let's start with Blush. What's the story behind Blush?
So when we talk about Blush, a lot of people kind of misinterpret Blush a lot. I've been on air with Emily, and when she asked me what it was about, she had thought it was about a relationship that I have gone through, but actually Blush is about my birth mom leaving when I was about a year old, and it's from my dad's perspective. So I wrote a song of what it would feel like, to have that happen to someone like me. So it's a third person story of essentially my birth mom leaving.
Now there is a verse that is from you, right?
One verse. Yeah.
So it's, if I remember correctly, it's the whole beginning half is your dad. It's like from his perspective.
Yeah.
And then, so what are some of the lyrics from your perspective specifically?
Honestly, I cared more than you ever did, and that's saying something. Obviously, me being a year old and, not knowing what, the emotion of caring really was, it just felt like in the moment what, my dad was probably going through, it felt like you're not really taking into consideration what the big picture is, of leaving would be me and my brother at the time, and my dad, obviously, who was struggling at the time too, and I mentioned that in the song too, struggling, working overnights, and my grandparents would take care of me throughout most of my childhood, sometimes my aunt and my uncle, so
yeah. So with that, now, besides the story, we can go back to the story of the song itself that tells. I remember you've kind of told me a little bit of the story of like writing the song. You want to talk a little bit about that, just kind of like, maybe like the songwriter process, but like how sometimes it could be this kind of weird, miraculous, fortuitous kind of a thing.
Yeah, so when I was writing Blush, essentially I just picked up my guitar and was like on the couch just fiddling along, watching a show actually called OA on Netflix, Original Angel or whatever it was called. And I'm not even like looking at my hands while I'm fiddling. I kind of just come up with that walk up, walk down that I do in Blush, and I had already played those chords, but then when I did the walk up and walk down, it kind of felt like a more complete riff. And that kind of got my attention. When I was playing that while I was watching it, I kind of had to pause the show and be like, this is something special here. I can't like let this go. So, and when I'm like, especially for every song that I'm writing, when I'm writing a song, I don't really think about the lyrics or the emotion per se. Like while I'm writing the song, I kind of let the song do its own talking, and then when I backtrack or go over the complete, instrumental of the song, then I'll write lyrics. When I started writing Blush too, it didn't start out as what it is now. It started out as a song, me kind of being trapped inside the walls of this apartment at times, because at that time I felt really disconnected from the world, and I didn't know what I wanted to write about. And as I got along with writing the song, I wanted to do something that was a little more impactful, and writing a song in third person, which was the first time I wrote a song in third person, it seemed pretty interesting for me to write something like that. So it kept me engaged in the song.
So when you sat down you didn't even have a thought to write a song about your mom or anything that had happened?
No, not at first. And
So did like the way the music felt?
Yeah, there was
like this feels like lost.
There was a bit of like sadness to the chords. There was some angst, and those emotions resonated with what I felt like with the whole situation. You know, the people are lucky to have two parents raise them, and I never got to meet my birth mom. I probably never will. I don't really have any I don't know what the word for it would be. I don't know. I don't really feel like I want to meet her at this time. You know, like living your whole life raised by other people, and you know, I'm 25 now. It just doesn't seem like it would be suitable at the time in my life. Maybe that'll change. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But
if you're watching, no, just kidding.
She might definitely watch it at some point, but I'm fine with that too. That's just the way I feel.
This is an intervention, and behind that door we have Brandon's mom. No,
ding, ding, ding.
So are there any like specific lines that, I don't know, stand out as something like maybe people misunderstand or like misinterpret as far as like what you were trying to tell, but like they really kind of like miss the picture?
I think it's always going to be misinterpreted because it seems like a very like breakup song, relationship song. Like this artist is definitely, you know, going through heartache, and there's nothing that'll really like stand out and say that it was, you know, my birth mom leaving. It would, yeah, I don't know how to answer that question. It's always going to be an outlier. You know what I mean? Like, unless, you know, you see this video and you know like what the true story behind it is. I think there's a part of me that likes that secret element of it that not everyone's gonna grasp at like the first moment. They'll be like, oh man, you went through a lot, didn't you? It was like, yeah, but there's more to it.
And then I went putting you on blast, putting the whole story on the internet.
Exactly.
Oh man. Trying to think if there's any specific lines that I had questions about. Is there anything specific to the concept of like, I hope when you fall asleep at night you leave the light on? Was that like something
that's almost like an ode to me.
something?
Like when I was growing up, I was always afraid of the dark, so I'd keep the light on, and it, you know, made me feel like somebody was there all the time. So me saying that, it was almost like, I hope you felt the way I felt, like in that time. Like I hope you were scared of being alone,
like, yeah,
because there was like, it was just, and I didn't understand it at the time either. I was a year old. My brother was maybe a year and a half, 2 years. It depends. We're Irish twins. We're 9 months apart. 9 months apart. 11 months apart.
That's pretty quick.
But no, that was definitely an ode to what my fear was, and I hope that was portrayed in her too when she left. And there, obviously, you know, you're gonna feel some remorse leaving, you know, definitely your kids. I don't know what that's gonna feel like from her perspective, and I don't even know what my dad felt like in that perspective. I don't even think I had like subtle conversations with him, and he'd get emotional, but he'd never tell me like if that was accurate, if what I said was like accurate.
I was gonna say, so you've never discussed this song in a way where it's like, did this song do it justice?
No, not like, I think I did ask him, but yeah, I never got like a straight answer. I'm not gonna sit him down and be like,
yeah,
are these the facts?
Hard answers now, buddy.
Is this right? Because maybe I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know if that's exactly right either.
That's true. It's interesting though that the connecting what your response to fear was and kind of like personifying it as a hope onto, you know, this person that you don't know, but you like wished that you weren't alone in it with this person that's supposed to have been there. That's that was something I guess I was always a little bit curious about. That glad to have the answer of. I don't know. Is there anything else about this? What's behind Blush, or that you want to talk about?
It was definitely before its time. I think I wasn't like, I was ready to release it, but there's a part of it that's a lot more mature than other songs and Leave Me the Way You Found Me. When I was writing and recording that, I was gonna go into the studio, and I had Blush, I had Overdue, I had Tiny Parts, and When I Was Born. And there were other songs older on my Bandcamp that I was gonna release with that EP. And about 2 or 3 weeks before I had scheduled time to go in to record the EP, I wrote Limerence and Riverside. And I wanted something that was more complete, but Blush is like a standout song. People come up to me, it's the same thing as Thick Skin. Both those songs are actually written in third person. But that's a story for another time.
We'll have Brandon back in season 2 or 3 or whatever, he'll be around.
But yeah,
we'll eventually get to Thick Skin.
It was ahead of its time. It's still hard to like grasp like.
Well, yeah, when a lot of the other songs are very like, not teenage-y, but almost teenage-y, and like kind of like that spurned love or like hopeful love or like all these like very like autobiographical love songs, and then all of a sudden to be like, and I'm gonna go third person to how my dad felt when, the person he married left. Like that's very much outside of the norm on the rest of what their those songs are.
And I think there was like
So is Limerence another way, but we'll get to that next.
Yes. And we don't like, and when I was writing that too, like I was having trouble writing at the time too. Like, you go through writer's block. Everyone goes through writer's block at some point in their life or some point in time. And I was having trouble coming up with like something that I wanted to write about, and I felt like that would be a cool concept to write in third person, and now I do it for other things too. Me being in Widow's work and helping out with theLionhearted, I'm trying to keep things, new, refreshed, and you kind of have to branch out and think about things in different ways.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, not really speaking of things in different ways, but kind of, the other song you did was Limerence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, for the listening audience, I do kind of pre-know what some of these songs are about. I'm good, Brand and I are good friends, but so like I know a general gist, but I also have some questions, specific to the songs. But yeah, what's the story behind Limerence for those of us?
Limerence is very angsty too. Limerence was one of like my, I wouldn't say first relationships,
First
but
off, what is, for those of us who don't know, what does Limerence mean?
It's almost like having an infatuation with someone that pretty much leads to nowhere.
Okay.
Beyond like, I guess having lust, you could say lust, or beyond loving someone, it kind of goes.
So very like face value, skin deep kind of love.
Something like that, yeah. And oddly enough, the relationship I had with that girl was more than skin deep. I actually ended up getting really good feelings for her, and fell really hard for her. She was a girl that I went to high school with. We weren't really close in high school, but as time grew and I saw her outside of high school, we would hang out a little bit, but Limerence is about gonna try and say this the best way as possible. It's about a failing relationship, and it went ways that I wasn't happy with. She forced my hand in things that I didn't want to do at the time, and overall I still have this like love for her, and I still care about her as a person, but there were things that just did not mend the relationship the way it should have, and reasons why that we aren't together. So Limerence kind of tells that story of my regret with being with her, and somewhat in the beginning, two lines in the beginning that I really like: table dreams and moonlit drives. Like, we would take drives a lot, and table dreams is kind of like dreaming about being together, eating across the dinner table together, growing old together. That's what everyone thinks. You get in a relationship, you rush into it, or you step right into it, and you do have this infatuation for that person, and you want to be around them all the time. And I wanted to be around her all the time. She had, a great personality. She joked around. I'm very sarcastic. She was very sarcastic, so it worked out really well in that way.
And coming around.
Yeah.
Plus, so again, kind of the same question as the last one, but I've dug into this kind of question. I like as a lyricist, I like picking into lyrics and seeing what certain things mean, or if anything has ever been like really misconstrued. So kind of same-ish question is, are there any lyrics in this song that have been kind of like misconstrued, especially considering like the subject matter is a bit harsher and deeper than is being said right now for the, not for the safety, but for the like consideration of people watching.
Yeah, not really. Actually, that's the song least amount of people actually comment on or actually try and dive into. I don't know if it's straightforward enough to understand, but the one line that I really like that ties things together really well at the end of Limerence, I do this little ode to an artist, Matthew Perryman Jones. He had an album called Swallow the Sea.
Okay, cool.
And,
I was literally just wondering I was going to ask you about this line, so go ahead. Yeah.
And it makes no sense that it was there. Like, what does swallow the sea mean? And I guess, like, at the end of the song, like, it was almost like, when you get a deep, like, gulp of, like, salt water, and it's just nasty, and you kind of, like, regret even going in the ocean because like you just get like pounded by a wave and like have this like salt water in your mouth, and that's kind of how I felt at the end of like that relationship with
so
said
saying
girl.
Swallow the Sea wasn't like okay, because I it's funny, I would have thought like swallow the sea, I'm drowning was like, hey, if you swallow the entire sea, I will stop drowning, kind of a thing. But because it comes across at face value is like, yeah, that's how
No, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, that's a fun thing with lyrics is that they can kind of magically come across as weird ways if you read into them in ways that they're not meant to be. But I like that the concept of the drowning element having to do with you getting that like. You're trying to swim and you get that nasty gulp of the ocean in there, and that being a allegory, like a very simple metaphor for like a relationship that like takes you by surprise in a bad way, where you're just like, yeah, swimming is great. Oh, mouthful song.
Yeah, that big turn off. Gonna go. I'll see you later. Bye, sea. And you don't go in for another 5 years. That I don't know, but that like when I listened to Matthew Perryman Jones' Swallow the Sea album, like way back when I like started writing music, that was a huge inspiration for me. So I wanted to like line something in there if I could.
Okay. And then I like Leave Me the Way You Found Me is just a nice, simple kind of. It's a weird like kind of emo line that's really stands out, and I'm assuming that's why you made it the title of your EP.
So Leave Me the Way You Found Me actually has a meaning by itself.
Okay.
I released the EP on the day my grandmother had passed away. She passed away in 2012, and I think it was December 22nd, 2012. And that's when I released my EP in 2018, December 22nd. And Leave Me the Way You Found Me is kind of like, she found me broken, and she left me broken kind of thing. So when I was brought into life, I was kind of a broken man, and as she like left, it was really hard for me to accept. She was a big part of my life and a big support system. She was in a wheelchair, and she'd always, I played basketball. Yeah, I played basketball.
Right now we're talking about your grandmother. Right?
Yes. Okay. But I'm saying she would, whenever I like went to shoot hoops, she'd sit at the window for hours and watch me like shoot hoops, and she cared that much. She cared that much to indulge in what what my goals and interests were in life. And she didn't live to see me become a musician, not a single part of it. So a lot of the stuff I do, I dedicate to her. So that's what Leave Me the Way You Found Me means.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. So, but in the song, it's not just referring to. It's not referring to the same thing as like your grandmother. It's like, is it? That's still spoken to.
That's spoken
the
to
girl
the
in relationship. In the song itself.
In Limerence?
Yeah.
No, technically no. That's wrapping the EP up and as a whole. That's what the EP kind of like resembles as a whole.
I'm saying, why did that line make its way in Limerence specifically?
Because it had to fit in there somewhere. Like, I didn't know where else to fit it, and
truth.
It's a simple way to describe it.
What's funny though is it works for the concept though. It works for the song in the sense that what you just said about like broken, like starting broken and then being left broken is like, I don't know. Is it possible this girl?
She didn't find me broken, but she definitely left me broken.
Okay.
And that's an overlying concept of the whole EP is me being a broken man. But no, I didn't have any intent in having that title worked in there for that song specifically.
Well, it fits the song perfectly.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. The pieces line up.
Yeah, it does line up. Cool. Well, if there's nothing else, then where can the world find Brandon Bors?
Anywhere.
Well,
Walmart. Why would Walmart be the first one?
Yeah, why Walmart?
Spotify.
I would say Wegmans, if anything.
I'm at you can find me at Wegmans probably 3 times a week.
Okay, so Spotify.
Spotify, iTunes.
What's your
YouTube?
What's your Instagram? You have a YouTube?
No, but like when you put your music through CD Baby, it like automatically puts it on YouTube. So I'm on YouTube that way. But my Instagram is just Brandon Bors. And just look up Brandon Bors.
You could also check out Widow's work.
Yep. If you like
heavier stuff,
post-hardcore sad boy music.
You can also catch Brandon on a lot of new Lionhearted stuff coming out too. So he's a busy boy doing a lot of stuff.
Yes.
So cool. Thanks. Thank you for doing it, man.
Well, thank you for having me.
We did it. The
and
first
everything.
one.
Number one. Number one.
Thank you.
I heard the air leave my child.